Okay. One more time. 1 Corinthians chapter number 4. We'll give Brother Crescio a few moments to pass out these verses. Okay. Just a sekunde. Ove stihovi pred vama je i Starim Zavjeta, I'm speaking Croatian. These verses in front of you are from the Old Testament. We're going to be using them this morning. But this is from our new translation. That is almost finished. And so I wanted to read out of these this morning. And so you that do not know Croatian, you're welcome to look them up in your King James Bible. Okay? Okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 4. It's harder than you think. Verse 1 and 2. Okay? Please, Ruben, read that.
Neka nas ljudi na taj način smatraju kao Kristove poslužitelje i upravitelje Božjih tajni. Što više, od upravitelja se traži da se pokaže vjera.
Okay, let's pray.
Pomolimo se.
Gospodine, hvala ti za ove dan i molim te blagosloviš ove poruku i molim te ispuni mi Duhom Svetim i pomogni mi, Gospodine, da mogu ispravni tumačiti tvoju riječ i molim te govori nama danas i hvala ti za Isusa i hvala ti da on je umro na križu za nas i sve molim se u Isusovo ime. Amen. All right. Let me just start by saying
Samo da vam kažem na početku.
Paul is telling the church at Corinth that he is a minister of Christ.
Pavao govori crkvi u Korintu da je on poslužitelj Kristov.
So in verse number 1,
u stihu 1
he tells them that he is a minister of Christ.
on nam kaže da je on poslužitelj Krista.
There is no higher calling than to be a minister of Christ.
Nema većeg zvanja nego da budeš poslužitelj Krista.
You know, a minister is someone who serves someone else.
Poslužitelj je neko ko poslužuje nekom drugome.
A minister is someone who does what their master wants them to do.
Onaj koji radi ono što njihov gospodar traži od njih da napravi.
And so Paul is saying, I am a minister of Christ.
Pavao govori da je on poslužitelj Kristov.
He was a servant of Christ.
Sluga Kristov.
We all should have this attitude in our Christian
Mi bi
lives.
svi trebali imati takvo ponašanje u našim kršćanskim životima.
Every member of this church
Svaki član ove crkve
needs to have this attitude
bi trebao imati takav stav.
where you are a minister of
Gdje
Christ,
si ti poslužitelj Kristov.
a servant of Christ.
Sluga Kristov.
We are servants for Christ.
Mi služimo za Krista.
Now, a servant does not make rules.
Sluga ne izmišlja pravila.
Okay, so all the rules do not come from the servants.
Sva pravila ne dolaze od sluga.
The master makes the rules,
Gospodar, on izdaje pravila.
and the servant follows the rules.
I sluga ih slijedi.
Paul was a minister of Christ,
Pavao je bio poslužitelj Kristov.
and so as a minister,
I kao poslužitelj,
he did what his Lord commanded him to do,
on je napravio ono što je njegov Gospod zapovjedio da on napravi.
he did not command his Lord what the Lord should do.
On nije zapovjedio svojem Gospodu da što bi on trebao napraviti.
Because a servant does the command,
Jer sluga izvršava naredbu,
and the master gives the command.
a gospodar ju daje.
And so as we are servants of Christ,
I mi smo sluge Kristove,
therefore we should do what Christ wants us to do.
i zbog toga bi mi trebali raditi ono što Bog želi da radimo.
But then also in our verse, in verse number 2,
I
or verse 1,
također u stihu broj 1,
Paul also says that he is a steward of Christ.
on kaže da je on upravitelj.
Now, a steward is different than just a servant.
Upravitelj je drugačije od sluge.
When a master would have servants,
Gospodar imao
sluge,
sluge,
he would choose one of them
on bi izabrao jednog od njih
to be the steward.
koji bi bio upravitelj.
Now, the steward would be over the other servants.
I upravitelj bi bio iznad ostalih poslužitelja.
And let me say this if I could.
I da vam samo kažem ako mogu.
Before one could ever be a steward,
Ako bi jedan mogao biti upravitelj,
he first had to be a servant.
On mora prvo biti poslužitelj.
He could never be a steward
On ne može biti upravitelj
until he was first a servant.
dok ne postane ako nije prije bio poslužitelj.
Now, a lot of people want to be the stewards,
Puno ljudi žele biti upravitelji,
but they do not want to be the servants.
ali ne žele biti poslužitelji.
Now, I learned a long time ago,
Naučio sam prije mnogo vremena,
if you want to be trusted in God's service,
ako želiš da
that God trusts you in
da
His
ti
service,
Bog vjeruje u tvojoj službi,
you need to be a servant.
trebaš biti poslužitelj.
There is nothing wrong with being a servant.
Ne postoji ništa loše da budeš poslužitelj.
I think every pastor should be a servant.
Mislim da bi svaki pastor trebao biti poslužitelj.
Not a Lord,
Ne gospod,
but a servant.
nego sluga.
There you go. Okay, so when the servant was faithful,
Kad je
Sluga.
sluga vjeran,
the master would promote him to be steward.
onda bi ga gospodar unaprijedio da postane upravitelj.
Okay, so I'm just going to get you to understand this before we get into the lesson.
Samo da razumijete ovo prije nego da uđem u lekciju.
So one can never be a steward
Znači, jedan nikad ne može biti upravitelj
until they first were a servant.
ako nisu prvo sluga
Sluga.
ili...
Sluga. Može sluga. A servant will never be a steward
Sluga ne može nikad biti upravitelj
until they were first faithful.
ako nisu prvo vjerni.
Okay, so one more time. One can never be a steward,
Još jednom.
upravitelj,
Jedan znači čovjek nikad ne može biti upravitelj
until they first were a servant.
ako nisu prvo sluge.
And a servant will never be a steward
I sluga nikad neće biti upravitelj
until they were faithful.
sve dok nisu vjerni.
Okay, the master did not choose the unfaithful servants to be stewards.
Gospodar nije odabrao nevjerne sluge da budu upravitelji.
He only chose those that were faithful to become stewards.
Izabrao je samo one koji su vjerni da
That's
postanu
what
upravitelji.
a steward is.
To je ono što je upravitelj.
Okay, so we got that.
Razumijemo to.
Paul says, I am a minister.
Pavao je rekao, ja sam poslušnik,
I'm a servant.
ja sam sluga,
But I am also a steward of the mysteries of God.
ali sam također upravitelj Božjih tajni.
Okay, and we know that is true.
I mi znamo da je to istina.
Most of the New Testament came from the Apostle Paul.
Većina Novog Zavjeta je došla od apostola Pavla.
Because God entrusted him with these mysteries of
Jer
God
mu se Bog povjerio svojim tajnama
to give to us.
da on da to nama.
So he was a servant, a minister,
Znači on je bio upravitelj,
but he was also a steward.
ali je također bio upravitelj.
God trusted Paul with the mysteries of God.
Bog je vjerovao Pavlu sa svojim tajnama.
Now, why did God trust Paul?
Zašto je Bog vjerovao Pavlu?
Was it because he was smarter?
Zato jer je on bio pametniji.
Was it because he had more talent?
Jer je on imao više talenta.
No.
Ne.
It was because he was faithful.
Zato jer je bio vjeran.
He was faithful to God,
On je bio vjeran Bogu
and when he was faithful to God,
i kad je bio vjeran Bogu,
God trusted him
Bog mu je vjerovao,
with the mysteries of God.
Bog mu se povjerio sa Božjim tajnama.
God could trust Paul.
Bog je mogao vjerovati Pavlu.
Now, the question is tonight, this morning,
Pitanje je ovog jutra,
can God trust us?
može li Bog vjerovati nama?
Now, I'm not asking you to answer this out loud.
Ne želim da ovo odgovorite glasno.
I want you as a member of this church
Želim da ti kao član ove
to
crkve
think about this question.
da razmisliš o tom pitanju.
Can God trust you?
Može li Bog vjerovati tebi?
Are you faithful?
Jesi li vjeran?
That's what I want to talk to you about this morning is faithfulness.
O tome vam želim govoriti ovog jutra, to je vjernost.
Now, I'm not asking, can I trust you?
Ne pitam ako vam ja mogu vjerovati.
I'm asking, can God trust you?
Pitam vas ako vam Bog može vjerovati.
Are you faithful?
Da li ste vjerni?
Faithfulness is a characteristic that we need as Christians.
Vjernost je karakteristika koju mi kao kršćani trebamo.
As we face this new year,
Sad kad se suočavamo s ovom novom godinom,
and I wasn't here on the first Sunday of this
ja
year,
nisam bio ovdje prve nedjelje ove godine,
so this is my little challenge to you
Ovo je znači nekakav izazov za vas
for 2018.
za 2018.
I want you to be faithful.
Želim da budete vjerni.
I want God to trust you.
Želim da vam Bog vjeruje.
I want God to know that you can be a steward.
Želim da Bog zna da vi možete biti upravitelji.
So as we face this new year,
I sad kad smo u ovoj novoj godini,
I want to challenge you to be faithful.
želim vam postaviti izazov da budete vjerni.
And I want to give you just a few reasons this morning
I želim vam dati par razloga ovog jutra
why you should be faithful to our Master.
zašto bi trebali biti vjerni našem gospodaru.
Now we know because He loved us and He gave Himself for
Mi
us.
znamo da jer nas je volio i da je dao sebe samoga za
That
nas.
ought to be enough right there.
To bi trebalo biti dovoljno.
But I want to give you some reasons
Ali želim dati neke razloge
why you should be faithful this year.
zašto bi ti trebao biti vjeran ove godine.
Okay? The first one is simply this.
Ovaj prvi je jednostavno ovako.
When we are faithful, it pleases God.
Kad smo vjerni, ugađamo Bogu.
I mean, can God be pleased because you're faithful?
Može li mu Bogu ugoditi kad smo vjerni?
Yes.
Naravno.
Yes. Now, we know for God so loved the world.
Jer je Bog tako ljubio svijet.
We know that.
Znamo to.
He loves me the same as He loves Brother Ralph.
On voli mene isto tako kao što voli brata Ralfa.
He loves Brother Ralph as much as He loves Brother Rich.
On voli brata Ralfa isto toliko koliko i voli brata Richa.
Now, I don't understand that.
Ja to ne razumijem.
That didn't sound right, did it?
To nije dobro zvučalo.
Okay? But it's true.
Ali je istina.
God loves us.
Bog nas voli.
So, can I please God more than someone else?
Mogu li ja ugoditi Bogu više nego neki
Because
drugi?
He loves me the same.
Jer me on jednako voli.
The answer is yes.
Odgovor je da.
Because people that are faithful
Jer ljudi koji su vjerni
please God.
ugađaju Bogu.
People that are not faithful
Ljudi koji nisu vjerni
do not please God.
ne ugađaju Bogu.
Now, I want you to look in our text, Numbers chapter 12,
Želim da pogledate u našem tekstu brojevi poglavlje 12.
and we're going to read verses 1 through 8.
Čitat ćemo stihove 1 do 8.
Okay, it's right here for him. I got him for him. Go ahead, Ruben.
A Mirjam i Aron počeli su govoriti protiv Mojsija zbog žene Etiopljanke kojom se oženio jer je oženio jednu ženu Etiopljanku. I rekli su, zar je Gospod doista govorio samo po Mojsiju? Nije li govorio i po nama? A Gospod je to čuo. A Mojsij je bio veoma krotak čovjek iznad svih ljudi koji su bili pred licem zemlje. I odmah je Gospod rekao Mojsiju i Aronu i Mirjami, dođite vas troje u šator sastanka. Njih troje je otišlo. A Gospod je sišao u stupu od oblaka i stao na ulazu u šator, te pozvao Arona i Mirjam. I njih dvoje je istupilo naprijed. A on je rekao, čujte riječi moje, nađe li se među vama prorok, ja Gospodin njemu se objavljam u viđenju i u snu mu progovaram. Ali nije tako sa slugom mojim Mojsijem koji je vjeran u svoj kući mojoj. Iz usta u usta s njim ja govorim, otvoreno, a ne u zagonetkama. I obličje Gospodnje on će gledati. Zašto se onda niste bojali govoriti protiv sluga moga Mojsija?
Okay. So here's a story in the Old Testament
Ovdje je priča u Starom Zavjetu
about Miriam and Aaron,
o Mirjamu i Aronu.
and they said, does God only speak through Moses? Does He not also speak through us?
Oni su pitali, zar Gospod samo govori kroz Mojsija, ne govori li Gospod
And
od nas?
can I say this? Be careful what you say.
Mogu vam reći ovo, budite pažljivi što govorite.
Because look in verse number 2,
Jer pogledajte stih 2
in the end.
na kraju.
It says, and the Lord heard it.
A Gospod je to čuo.
The Lord hears what we say.
Gospod čuje sve što velimo.
We may think, hey, we can say what we want.
Mi možda mislimo, hej, možemo reći što želimo.
Let me say to you this morning, God hears what we say.
Ali da vam kažemo ovog jutra, Bog čuje što kaže.
And when Aaron and Miriam were speaking,
I kad su Aron i Mirjam razgovarali,
the Bible says,
Biblija kaže,
and the Lord heard it.
a Gospod je to čuo.
And He wasn't pleased with what they were saying.
I nije mu bilo ugodno s onim što su oni rekli.
And look in verse number 6.
I pogledajte stih broj 6.
It says, and he said, hear now my words.
A on je rekao, čujte riječi moje.
If there be a prophet among you,
Nađe li se među vama prorok,
I the Lord will make myself known unto him in a vision,
ja Gospod njemu se objavljam u viđenju.
and will speak unto him in a dream.
I u snu mu progovaram.
But now look at verse number 7.
Sad pogledajte stih 7.
My servant Moses is not so.
Ali nije tako sa slugom mojim Mojsijem,
who is faithful in all mine house.
koji je vjeran u svoj kući moj.
Look what God said about Moses.
Vidite što je Bog rekao o Mojsiju.
He was faithful in all of God's
On je
house.
bio vjeran u svoj kući Božoj.
Not just a part of it,
Ne samo dio,
but all.
nego u cijele.
That's not what I said about Moses.
E,
That's not what I said.
To nije ono što sam ja rekao o Mojsiju,
That's what God said.
to je ono što je Bog rekao.
God said he's faithful in all mine
Bog
house.
je rekao da je on vjeran u svoj kući mojoj.
And look in verse 8.
Pogledajte stih 8.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth,
Iz usta u usta s njim ja govorim.
face to face,
Licem u lice.
person to person.
Osoba do osobe.
Not in a dream,
Ne u snu,
not in a vision,
ne u viziji,
but directly God spoke to
nego
Moses.
direktno je Bog govorio Mojsiju.
Why?
Zašto?
Because he was faithful in all of God's
Jer je
house.
bio vjeran u svoj kući Božoj.
Now, was Moses any better than Aaron?
Je li Mojsije bio išta bolji od Arona?
Did he have more chance than Aaron?
Je li on imao bolju šansu od Arona?
Did he have more talent than Aaron?
Je li on imao bolje talenta od Arona?
No.
Ne.
He was just faithful.
On je samo bio vjeran.
He believed God.
On je vjerovao Bogu.
God was important to him.
Bog mu je bio važan.
God's house and God's things
Božja kuća i Božje stvari
were most important to Moses.
su mu bile najbitnije.
And he was faithful to that.
I on je bio vjeran tome.
And because he was faithful,
I zato što je bio vjeran,
God said, I'm not going to speak to him in a dream.
Bog je rekao, ja neću govoriti s njim u snu,
I'm not going to speak to him in a vision.
neću mu govoriti u viđenju,
I'm going to speak to him mouth to mouth.
govorit ću mu usta u usta.
Why?
Zašto?
Because Moses pleased God with his faithfulness.
Jer je Bog
Moses pleased God.
Bogu sa svojom vjernošću.
Can I tell you this morning,
Mogu vam reći ovog jutra,
you want to please God?
želite li ugoditi Bogu?
Why don't you get faithful?
Zašto ne biste postali vjerni?
God is still concerned about people being faithful.
Bog je još uvijek zabrinut za ljude da budu vjerni.
Now, I love church.
Ja volim crkvu.
I love the people of this church.
Volim ljude u ovoj crkvi.
I missed you when I was in America.
Falili ste mi dok sam bio u Americi.
I preached a few times while I was there,
Propovjedao sam nekoliko puta dok sam bio tamo
and God blessed.
i Bog je blagoslovio,
But to me, it's not the same as being right here with you.
ali nije to isto kao dok sam s vama.
Now, some of those churches were 200 and 300 people.
I neke te crkve su imali 200-300 ljudi.
But I would rather be right here with this group of Christians
Ali ja bi rađe bio ovdje sa ovom grupom kršćana
because I like being with you.
jer volim biti s vama.
I know you,
Poznam vas
and I know you love God.
i znam da volite Boga,
But can I say to you,
ali mogu vam reći,
you may come to church for the same reasons you like one another.
možda vi dolazite iz istog razloga jer se volite međusobno.
But that ought not be the reason we come to
Ali to
church.
ne bi trebao biti razlog da mi dolazimo u crkvu.
We ought to come here because it pleases God.
Mi bi trebali dolaziti u crkvu jer tako
We
ugodno.
ought to be faithful to the church.
Mi bi trebali biti vjerni ovoj crkvi.
If you want to please God,
Ako želiš ugoditi Bogu,
this year in front of you,
ovoj godini koja je ispred tebe,
why don't you get faithful to come to church?
zašto ne bi bio vjeran da dođeš u crkvu?
Not only on Sunday,
Ne samo nedjeljom,
on Thursday.
nego i četvrtkom.
We have a prayer meeting every Thursday.
Mi imamo molitveni sastanak svaki četvrtak.
Why don't you get faithful?
Zašto ne bi bio vjeran?
Whether I'm here or not.
Bez obzira na to ako sam ovdje ili ne.
Because you want to please God.
Jer želiš ugoditi Bogu.
Now, not every Christian is going to decide to do this.
Neće svaki kršćanin odlučiti da će to raditi.
I'm not naive.
Ja nisam naivac.
I know that.
Ja znam to.
But I'm talking to the ones here this morning
Ali govorim o onima ovog jutra
who want to please God,
koji žele ugoditi Bogu.
who want God to be pleased with them.
Koji žele da Bogu bude ugodno s njima.
Get faithful,
Budite vjerni.
because faithfulness pleases God.
Jer vjernost ugađa Bogu.
Now, I've had some things happen
Ja sam u svom životu imao neke stvari koje su se događale,
that were difficult things.
koje su bile za mene teške stvari.
And I needed God.
Ja sam trebao Boga.
And probably you've been in some of those same
I
situations
vjerojatno ste vi bili u sličnim
where
situacijama
you needed God.
gdje ste trebali Boga.
And I was happy when those situations happened
Ja sam bio sretan kad su se te situacije dogodile,
that I was already faithful to God.
da sam već bio vjeran Bogu.
I didn't have to spend time and repent and get right with God.
Nisam trebao potrošiti vrijeme gdje sam se pokajao pred Bogom,
because I was already faithful.
jer sam već bio vjeran.
And I could cry out to God
Ja sam mogao zavapiti Bogu
in that time of trouble
u vrijeme nevolje
and know that He was listening to me.
i znao sam da me on slušao.
Know that He hears me.
Znao sam da me čuo.
So the first reason this morning
Prvi razlog ovog jutra
we ought to be faithful
mi bi trebali biti vjerni,
is because it pleases God.
jer to ugađa Bogu.
Okay, the second thing this morning,
Druga stvar ovog jutra,
when we are faithful, it strengthens our testimony.
kad smo vjerni, to
Osnažuje.
snažuje naše svjedočanstvo.
Okay, I don't know about you, my testimony is important.
Ne znam za vas, ali moje svjedočanstvo je meni važno.
It ought to be important to you.
Trebalo bi biti važno i vama.
What is your testimony this morning?
Što je tvoje svjedočanstvo ovog jutra?
I remember my pastor used to say,
Sjećam se, moj pastor znao reći,
well, back then he was my Sunday school teacher, he was the associate pastor,
znači
pomoćnik
on je
pastor.
bio pomoćnik pastor u to vrijeme,
But he used to say that if someone wanted to rob his house,
ali je rekao da ako bi neko htio pljačkati njegovu kuću,
it'd be very easy.
bilo bi vrlo jednostavno.
All he'd have to do is watch him for a couple of weeks,
Samo bi trebao gledati nekoliko tjedna
and he'd know every Sunday and every Wednesday he wasn't at home
i on bi znao da svake nedjelje, svake srede on nije doma,
because he was at church.
jer je on bio u crkvi.
Yeah. Now I hope we don't have thieves this morning that we're giving them ideas.
Mi nemamo lopove ovdje koji davamo ideju.
But the truth is,
Ali istina je,
we ought to be so faithful to God
mi bi trebali biti vjerni Bogu,
that a thief would know every Wednesday and every Sunday
da
you're in
bi lopov
church.
trebao znati da se svake nedjelje i srijede u
It's not
crkvi.
it's not a question.
To nije pitanje,
It's just a fact of where we're
to je
going to
samo
be.
činjenica gdje ćemo biti.
So my testimony should be important to me.
I moje svjedočanstvo bi mi trebalo biti važno.
Okay, look in 1 Samuel chapter 12,
Gledajte 1. Samuelova poglavlje 12,
verse 11 through 15.
stihovi 11 do 15. Na to je Šaul zapovjedio da pozovu svećenika Ahimeleka, sina Ahitubova, i sav dom oca njegova, svećenike koji su bili u Nobu. I svi su oni došli pred kralja. Tada je Šaul rekao, čuj sada, sine Ahitubov. A on je odgovorio, evo me, gospodaru moj. Zatim mu je Šaul rekao, zašto ste se urotili protiv mene, ti i sin Išev, pa si mu ti dao kruha i mač i tražio si savjet za njega od Boga da se digne protiv mene i da vrebo uzasjedi kao i dan danas. Na to je Ahimelek odgovorio kralju i rekao, a tko je tako vjeran među svim tvojim slugama kao David, koji je i kraljev zet i hodi među namještenicima tvojim i poštovan je u kući tvoje? Nisam li ja već onda počeo tražiti savjet od Boga za njega? Daleko neka je to od mene. Neka kralj ništa ne uračunava svome slugi, ni nikome od svega doma oca moga, jer sluga tvoj nije znao ništa od svega toga, ni manje, ni više.
Okay? This is a story in the Old Testament
Ovo je priča o Starom Zavjetu,
where David had to flee from Saul.
gdje je David trebao
Bježati.
pobjeći od Šaula.
Because Saul wanted to kill him.
Jer ga je Šaul htio ubiti.
And in the night, David had to leave.
I u noći je David trebao otići.
He had no sword,
Nije imao mač,
didn't have any food,
nije imao hrane,
because he had to leave in a hurry.
jer je trebao se žuriti.
And he came to this priest in this story,
I došao je do toga svećenika u ovoj priči.
and he asked him if he had any bread.
I pitao ga ako ima kakvog kruha.
The only bread there was the show bread,
I
the prikazano kruh, I think.
tam onda je bio prinešeni kruh.
And so he gave it to David,
I on ga je dao Davidu.
and there was one sword there.
I bio je jedan mač tamo.
It was the sword of Goliath.
Bio je mač Golijata.
And he gave that to David.
I to je dao isto Davidu.
Now David never told the priest
David nikad nije rekao svećeniku
that he was fleeing from Saul.
da bježi od Šaula.
And so the priest had no knowledge of this.
I to svećenik nije znao.
All he knew is David had a need,
Samo je znao
that David had a need,
da David imao potrebu
and so he did his best to meet that need.
i dao je sve od sebe da mu pomogne.
Now in these verses,
U tim stihovima
Saul is now coming to the priest
Šaul dolazi do svećenika
because he heard that David had come by that way,
jer je čuo da je David došao do njega
and he heard what the priest had done.
i čuje što je svećenik učinio.
And so Saul is very angry.
Šaul je vrlo ljut.
And I want you to look in verse number 14, I believe it is.
Želim da pogledate u stih 14.
The Bible says, Then Ahimelech answered the king and said,
Na to je Ahimelek odgovorio kralju i rekao,
And who is so faithful among all thy servants as David?
a tko je tako vjeran među svim tvojim slugama kao David?
I saw that, and it was very interesting to me.
Dok sam to vidio, bilo mi je vrlo zanimljivo.
Because this priest,
Jer taj svećenik,
when he saw David,
kad je vidio Davida,
he knew David had a testimony.
on je znao da David ima svjedočanstvo.
David's testimony
Davidovo svjedočanstvo
was that he was faithful to the
je
king.
bilo da je on bio vjeran kralju.
The whole nation knew that David was faithful to the king,
Cijela nacija je znala da je David bio vjeran kralju,
except the king.
osim kralja.
He's the only one that didn't know it.
On je jedini koji nije to znao.
But David was faithful.
Ali David je bio vjeran.
And everyone in the nation
I svako u naciji
knew that he was faithful.
je znao da on bio vjeran.
That was his testimony.
To je bilo njegovo svjedočanstvo.
People looked at his life
Ljudi su gledali na njegov život
and they said, he's faithful.
i rekli su on je vjeran.
That's his
To je
testimony.
njegovo svjedočanstvo.
What do people say when they look at your life?
Što ljudi govore kad vide tvoj život?
Do they say, he's faithful?
Hoće li reći on je vjeran?
That guy belongs to God.
Onaj čovjek pripada Bogu.
That he must be a Christian.
On mora biti kršćanin.
He must be different than people around him
On mora biti drugačiji od ljudi oko njega.
because he has a testimony.
Jer on ima svjedočanstvo.
You and I have a testimony.
Ti i ja imamo svjedočanstvo.
Every person in this room has a testimony.
Svaka osoba u ovoj prostoriji ima svjedočanstvo.
But it's not always a good testimony.
Ali to ne mora znači da je to dobro svjedočanstvo.
Now, I want in my life
Ja želim u svojem životu
to have a good testimony.
da imam dobro svjedočanstvo.
Now, I live in this flesh like you.
Ja živim u tijelu kao i vi.
I can't wait for the new body.
Jedva čekam na novo tijelo.
Amen for that. Amen. And prije idemo dalje, ja sam bio u Americi i neki propovjeda, I'm sorry, just a second. I oni su propovjedali u mjesto, ja sam rekao amen, ali to nije dobro u Americi. Mi kažemo amen. Da, ja sam izgleda kao Lutheran. Okay, we'll go on, I'll tell y'all later. Okay.
Idemo dalje.
And so anyway, David had a testimony.
David je imao svjedočanstvo.
He was faithful.
On je bio vjeran.
You and I need to have a testimony
Ti i ja moramo imati
that we're
svjedočanstvo.
faithful.
Da smo vjerni.
As a missionary, I want to have a testimony.
Ja kao misionar želim imati
I
svjedočanstvo.
want to be faithful.
Želim biti vjeran.
Now, I may not be the best missionary,
Ja možda nisam najbolji misionar,
but I can be a faithful missionary.
ali mogu biti vjeran misionar.
I may not be the best Christian,
Možda nisam najbolji kršćanin,
but I can be a faithful Christian.
ali mogu biti vjeran kršćanin.
And you and I need to have that testimony
I ti i ja bi trebali imati to svjedočanstvo.
that we're faithful.
Da smo vjerni.
Okay, so when we are faithful,
I kad smo vjerni,
it strengthens our testimony.
to osnažuje naše svjedočanstvo.
The third thing it does,
Treća stvar,
when we are faithful,
kada smo vjerni,
Rich, you may have to help us, it will promote us.
to će nas unaprijediti.
Never mind. Very good, Ruben. Very good. Okay, Nehemiah 7,
Nehemija poglavlje 7,
verses 1 and 2.
stihovi 1 i 2. I dogodilo se, kad je zid bio sagrađen i kad sam postavio vratna krila, a vratari i pjevači i leviti su bili određeni, da sam provjerio Hananiju, bratu svome, i Hananiju, glavaru dvora, upravu nad Jeruzalemom, jer je on bio vjeran čovjek i bojao se Boga više nego mnogi.
Amen. Now this is a story in the Old Testament
Ovo je priča o Starom Zavetu,
where the walls were broken down around Jerusalem,
gdje su zidovi bili srušeni oko Jeruzalema
and God used a man by the name of Nehemiah,
i Bog je koristio čovjeka imenom Nehemija.
and through Nehemiah the walls were built again around the city.
Kroz Nehemiju zidovi su bili sagrađeni oko grada opet.
And now in verse number 7,
I sad u stihu 7
he is looking for men. It says in verse number 1, now it came to pass when the wall was built, so the wall was already built.
i on već sad gleda i sad je već zid bio sagrađen i dogodilo se kad je zid bio sagrađen
And he said, I had set up the doors.
i kad sam postavio vratna krila.
And then in verse number 2,
I sad u stihu 2
he says, I gave my brother Hanani and Hananiah, the ruler of the palace,
da sam povjerio Hananiju, bratu svome, i Hanani, glavaru dvora,
charge over Jerusalem.
upravu nad Jeruzalemom,
Now look, for he was a faithful man.
jer je on bio vjeran čovjek.
See, he was promoted
On je bio unaprijeđen
because he was faithful.
jer je bio vjeran.
He was given more responsibility
Njemu se dalo više odgovornosti
because he was
jer je
faithful.
bio vjeran.
Now he wasn't, when he was looking for these people to help,
I Kad je on gledao tim ljudima da im pomogne,
he didn't look for lazy people
on nije tražio lijene ljude
or unfaithful people.
ili nevjerne ljude.
He looked for people who were faithful.
On je gledao ljude koji su vjerni.
And when he saw those faithful people,
Kad je vidio te vjerne ljude,
he said, I'll use you here.
on je rekao, ja ću te koristiti ovdje.
And verse number 13, chapter 13, verse
I
13.
poglavlje 13, stih 13.
Read that for them.
I postavio sam rizničare nad riznicama, svećenika, Šelemiju, pismoznanca Zadoka i od Levita Pedaju, a pored njih je bio Hanan, sina Zakura, sina Matanina, jer su u njih smatrali vjernima. A njihova je služba bila da dijele svoje braći.
Okay. It says, and I made treasurers over the treasuries.
On kaže da je postavio rizničare nad riznicama.
And then in the end, the verse says, for they were counted faithful.
I na kraju piše, jer su njih smatrali vjernima.
And their office was to distribute unto their brethren.
A njihova služba bila da dijele svoje braći.
So we see again, men were giving more responsibility.
Vidimo opet je čovjek dobio, da su ljudi dobili više odgovornosti.
Because they were faithful.
Jer su bili vjerni.
So why should we be faithful?
Zašto bismo mi bili vjerni?
When we are faithful, it will promote us.
Kad smo vjerni, onda će nas unaprijediti to.
God will promote you.
Bog će te unaprijediti.
He'll give you more
On
responsibility
će ti dati više odgovornosti
when you're faithful.
kad si vjeran.
He'll give you more to do for Him
On će dati da više radiš za njega
when you're faithful.
kad si vjeran.
Now, I know some of you are thinking, then I'll do less so I can do less.
Neki od vas će misliti da ću raditi više, pa ću raditi više,
That's not
manje, pa
the
da će raditi manje.
That's not the right way to think.
To nije dobar način razmišljanja.
Because let me tell you this.
Da vam kažem ovo.
If you want joy
Ako želite radost
and peace,
i mir,
get faithful to God.
budite vjerni.
Do more for God.
Radite više za Boga.
There's more peace the more you do for God.
Što više radite za Boga, imat ćete više mira.
There's more joy the more you do for God.
Što više radite za Boga, imat ćete više radosti.
Okay, so let me give you the last thing.
I zadnja stvar.
When we are faithful,
Kada smo vjerni,
it will preserve us from evil men.
to će nas zaštititi od zla čovjeka.
Okay? You know there's evil men around us.
Znate da su zli ljudi oko nas.
I know this is going to surprise you,
Znam da će vas ovo iznenaditi,
but not everybody in Croatia are saved.
ali nisu svi u Hrvatskoj spašeni.
I know you're all in shock about that,
Znam da ste
right?
svi sad u šoku.
Yeah, there's some evil men around us.
To je zli ljudi oko nas.
And when we are faithful,
I kad smo vjerni,
it'll preserve us from evil men.
to će nas zaštititi od tih zlih ljudi.
Look in Daniel chapter 6 verse 1
Gledajte Daniel poglavlje 6 stih 1
through 5.
do 5. Svidjelo se Dariju da postavi nad kraljevstvom 120 knezova koji trebaju biti nad svim kraljevstvima. A nad njima trojicu predsjednika od kojih je prvi bio Daniel, da knezovi mogu njima polagati račun da kralj ne bi pretrpio štetu. Tada je Daniel počeo prednjačiti nad predsjednicima i knezovima, zato što je u njemu bio izvanredan duh. I kralj je mislio postaviti ga nad svim kraljevstvom. Tada su predsjednici i knezovi tražili povod kako bi našli nešto protiv Daniela u vezi s kraljevstvom. No nisu mogli naći nikakvog povoda ni krivice, zato što je on bio vjeran. Niti se bilo kakva pogreška ili krivica nije mogla pronaći u njemu. Na to su ti ljudi rekli: nećemo naći nikakvog povoda protiv toga Daniela, osim da nađemo nešto protiv njega u vezi zakona njegovog Boga.
Yeah. You see, they were looking for a fault in Daniel.
Oni su tražili, znači, nekakvu pogrešku u Danielu.
So they looked to see, is there anything he's done against the king?
Pokušali su, znači, ako je bilo što je napravio protiv kralja.
Or against the laws of the land?
Ili protiv zakona.
In verse number 4
I
says,
stih 4 kaže
they couldn't find anything
da nisu mogli ništa naći,
because he was faithful.
jer je bio vjeran.
That's what their conclusion was.
To je bio njihov zaključak.
He was faithful,
On je bio vjeran.
so therefore we could find nothing
I zbog
against
toga
Daniel.
nismo mogli naći ništa protiv Daniela.
And then verse 5 tells
I
us
stih 5 nam kaže
that it says, then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel,
i onda su rekli da neće naći nikakvog povoda protiv Daniela.
except we find it against him concerning the law of his God.
Osim da nađu nešto protiv njega u vezi zakona njegovog Boga.
Why?
Zašto?
Because he was faithful to his God.
Jer je bio vjeran svojem
And
Bogu.
they knew it.
I oni su to znali.
He had a testimony.
On je imao svjedočanstvo.
And they knew it.
I oni su to znali.
So, you know the story. They got the king to pass the new law.
Znate priču,
A new law. They got the king to pass.
Oni su rekli kralju da on postavi novi zakon.
And the law was you can't pray to any other god for so many days.
Zakon je bio da ne možeš moliti ne možeš se moliti bilo kojem drugom bogu.
Why?
Zašto?
Because they knew Daniel was going to pray to his God.
Jer su znali da će Daniel se moliti svojem Bogu.
Because he was faithful.
Jer je bio vjeran.
They knew it.
Oni su to znali.
And so 3 times a day,
I tri puta na dan,
he opened the curtains.
on je otvorio zavjese.
I don't know if they had curtains, but he opened them.
Ne znam ako su imali zavjese, ali on ih je otvorio.
3 times a day,
3 puta na dan,
he prayed.
i on je molio.
He was faithful to
On
his
je bio
God.
vjeran svojem Bogu.
And then we know the story, God took care of him
Znamo tu priču da se Bog pobrinuo za njega.
because he was faithful to
Jer
his
je bio
God.
vjeran.
Now, I want to be a servant of Christ.
Ja želim biti sluga Krista.
I'm not the master,
Ja nisam gospodar,
I'm the servant.
ja sam sluga.
You're not the master,
Ti nisi gospodar,
you're the servant.
ti si sluga.
We're to serve one another.
Uh,
Trebamo služiti
Trebamo
jednom
služiti
drugome.
jedan drugome.
We need to serve our Lord,
Mi trebamo služiti Gospodu
and we need to serve Vjeran
i moramo služiti Varaždinu
with the gospel of Jesus
sa
Christ.
evanđeljem Isusa Krista.
I want to be faithful to my master,
Želim biti vjeran svojem gospodaru.
and I pray this year you'll be faithful to your
Molim se
master.
da ćeš ti ove godine biti vjeran svojem gospodaru.
Let's be faithful to his word.
Budimo vjerni njegovoj riječi.
I want to challenge you to read more of the Bible this year.
Želim vam postaviti izazov da više čitate Bibliju.
Don't read
ove
it
godine.
one time a year.
Nemojte čitati jednom godišnje,
Let's read it 2 times a year.
čitajte 2 put godišnje.
That's only 6 chapters a day.
To je samo 6 poglavlja.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Bible's a big book.
Puno, Biblija je velika knjiga.
6 chapters a day,
6 poglavlja na dan.
and you'll read it 2 times a year.
I vi ćete pročitati 2 put na godinu.
It's not that much.
To nije puno.
We spend more time in front of the television or Facebook
Provodimo više vremena ispred televizije ili Facebook
than we do in front of the Bible.
nego što provodimo ispred.
So let's be faithful to the Bible.
Budimo vjerni Bibliji.
All of us.
Svi mi.
The whole church.
Cijela crkva.
Okay? Then let's be faithful to his church.
Budimo vjerni njegovoj crkvi.
Let's get faithful to come to church.
Budimo vjerni da dolazimo u crkvu.
Every service. Služba. Bogoslužje, yeah. Sunday morning
Nedjelju ujutro
at 10 o'clock,
u 10 ujutro.
we have Sunday school.
Mi imamo nedjeljnu školu.
And then at 11 o'clock,
U 11
we sing and preach.
pjevamo i propovjedamo.
Okay? And then Thursday,
I u četvrtak
we have 7 o'clock.
imamo u 7 sati.
We don't do 6 o'clock anymore
Više nemamo u 6 sati.
because we want those at work to have a chance to come.
Želimo da oni koji su na poslu da imaju priliku da dođu.
7 o'clock lasts 1 hour.
7 sati, u 7 sati samo 1 sat.
I'm very careful on Thursday to make sure it's only 1 hour.
Pažljiv sam da bude u četvrtak samo 1 sat.
You know why?
Znate zašto?
Because some people have to get up early to go to work.
Jer se neki ljudi moraju ustati da idu na
And
posao.
I want to respect that.
Ja želim to poštivati.
So Thursday we'll have 1 hour.
U četvrtak imat ćemo 1
We'll
sat.
pray.
Mi ćemo se moliti.
Maybe finish Matthew this year.
Možda ćemo završiti Mate ove godine.
I think this is the 4th year, but
Mislim da je ovo
we're close to
četvrta
the
godina.
end. Close to the end.
Blizu smo
Okay?
kraja.
We start chapter 27 next Thursday.
Počet ćemo ovo poglavlje 27 ili
Okay.
četvrtak.
Amen. And so 1 hour on Thursday.
I 1 sat u četvrtak.
Okay, that's all.
To je sve.
We can be faithful to that.
Možemo biti vjerni tome.
And let me say,
I da vam kažem,
you that would like some extra church,
e,
još više crkva, you that would like,
vi koji želite više crkve,
on Sunday night
u nedjelju na večer,
at 6 o'clock,
u 6 sati,
we go to
mi
Čakovec
idemo u Čakovec
and we have church.
i mi imamo crkvu.
I like hearing preaching. I like hearing preaching.
Ja volim čuti propovjed.
Brother Rich, when he preaches, God speaks to me.
Kod brat Rič propovjeda, Bog mi govori.
I want God to speak to me.
Želim da mi Bog govori.
Now, I know for some of you that may be too much.
Znam da bi za neke od vas bilo previše.
So be faithful to this church first. This is your local church.
Prvo ovoj crkvi, jer je ovo vaša lokalna crkva.
Okay, start there.
počnite ovdje.
But some of us,
Ali neki od nas,
we like church.
mi volimo crkvu.
And we go to church.
Mi idemo u crkvu.
And then you that really want more, I gotta hurry, want more church,
I vi koji želite jako puno crkve,
we go to Kirstenitz in the
idemo
afternoon
u
on Sunday.
Kuršanec popodne u nedjelju.
Y'all pray for Brother Sturts and Brother Ingles today,
Molite se za brata Srca i brata Ingelsa.
because they're going to Kirstenitz with me.
Jer oni idu u Kršanec sa mnom.
And so it's going to be fun.
Biće zabavno.
I like it.
Volim to.
Have church. And then if you want more church,
Ako želite još crkve,
you could come with me on Saturday.
možete doći sa mnom u subotu.
We have church in Kirstenitz.
Imamo također crkvu u Kuršancu.
So there's opportunity to go to church.
Imate puno prilike da idete u crkvu.
So be faithful.
Budite vjerni.
Okay? And then let me say this, and I got to close.
I da vam kažem još ovo i onda ću zatvoriti.
Let's be faithful to his work.
Budimo vjerni njegovom poslu.
You know, he has a work for us to do.
On ima posao za nas koji trebamo
Get you some
napraviti.
tracts, some traktate,
Uzeti neke traktate
pass them out.
i podijeliti ih.
Put them in the mailboxes.
Staviti ih u poštanske sanduče.
Give them to your friends.
Dati ih prijateljima.
Be faithful to get the gospel to others.
Budite vjerni da date evanđelje drugima.
Amen. Gospodine, hvala ti za ove dani. Molim te, blagosloviš sve što smo čuli i molim te, blagosloviš brata Strca i brata Riča i sve što je pred nama. I sve molim se u Isusovo ime. Amen.